Ah, there I am.
Yeah, wonderful.
Hello.
Hello. I'll just suggest we'll look at each other on the screen for now. Oh, I can see David again. Hello, David.
Hi there. Go and get some headphones.
Oh, there were about 13 people who registered, and a few people said that they have some other circumstances that they wouldn't, be able to see us, to be live, but they would like to get the recording still. So I think we could wait for maybe another, 5 minutes and then just start talking. And I'm very excited. It's a good crowd again.
Hi, Deborah.
Hello.
Hi, Robin.
Hi there.
I only see your top half of your face. Ah, there you are, Robin.
I'll move it back.
Yeah. While we are waiting, David is not there. I have a question. Judith, I had an interesting request from a friend of ours, and I'm wondering if we have any psychotherapists or psychologists who ever worked with people who are stuttering.
For what?
Like when people stutter, when they can't speak fluently, and literally
stutter.
Stutter, yeah. So I have some Russian friends whose daughter is stuttering. She's a teenager, and apparently it happened like a while ago when she was little. She had some stressful experience. Just, she was riding a bicycle and the guy on the road hit her. And that was enough for her to start stuttering. And since then, she basically, has this problem with breathing and speaking when she's, say, playing the piano. It's while she's playing, when she's playing the flute, she experienced a problem. So I wondered if anyone ever had any experience. I don't know if we could help her with anything. I could only do some exercise to help her, work with her brainwaves and relax and get control over her space and kind of get some landmarks for her so that she can quickly have this good, comfortable, relaxed state.
I've had a little bit of luck with two things for stuttering.
Mm-hmm.
One is using lens neurofeedback, and the other one is using a little device called Forebrain, which works on the auditory pathway. It's developed by Tomatis. You know about the Tomatis training?
I heard about this because when I started looking for, testing what people do, and I think what you mentioned is the usual thing, this audio provided back to you.
Yeah.
Which kind of fixes your speech and you hear yourself speaking, right?
It does that, plus it stimulates the pons through bone conduction.
Mm-hmm.
And helps to make that loop. It helps to clarify that loop for the person, and we've seen some good results with it.
Oh, that's great. So you're saying you actually had good success with it, or like good experience?
I have a client that has CP and has terrible stuttering problems, and if he actually would use it every day, he would do better. When he's used it and had lens training, he does very well.
Mm-hmm.
Reduces stuttering quite a bit.
Okay.
David, have you had any experience with a stuttering client?
I've read about stuttering clients, not really had experience myself.
Okay.
That's an interesting chandelier you got there, David. We're looking straight up at your chandelier.
Well, sorry, the phone I'm using only lets me use the angle that this little holder can give me, so where I'm positioning it. I can see you guys. So.
Nice wind chimes. What are you stroking? And that looks like a wig or a turkey.
This is a dog.
It's a dog. Oh, how cute.
She
What kind
just
of dog
has.
is that?
All right, well, I'm
Lhasa
sort of here
Apso.
recording. And is this a mute?
What happened?
She has to be on my lap, she thinks.
Oh, a lap dog.
So, yeah, if I'm going to be here.
Oh, sweet. Okay, Oksana, I guess you can start anytime you want.
Okay, so quickly, we have 7 people on, as far as I can see. So Helen is there, but she muted her microphone. I can see she joined us. And I will remind everyone that I'm recording this. So I hope that's not a big problem for you. And if you want maybe to talk to each other or to do this, you can use chat as well without disturbing the speaker. So the major topic that's for today was, oh, I can see Helen now, hello, was the gamma brainwaves. So it's a very unique experience, and apparently, Judith, you should share that I happen to have some gamma brainwaves, or show them. I was trying to find some brainwave sessions of my own, Judith, but unfortunately I couldn't find them on my computer. I don't know what happened. And from my own experience, I checked a few people who showed gamma brainwaves, as I thought, and I think now that it probably was more like electrical artifact. It was because, as you wrote to me a while ago, how to check whether people really have these very fine waves or not. We use SEMG artifact, right? And to check it versus gamma amplitudes and see if, you know, this artifact, these waves would match. And that's exactly what happened. So I'm not even sure that, you know, my assumption that all the template people, so we have this special ceremonies here that are very popular, where we use sacred geometry. So it means very balanced, beautiful geometrical shapes that we spin and listen to the music and pronounce certain affirmations. So I thought that these does contribute to help you start producing these gamma brainwaves, which is actually, to me, how I understand it and how I try to explain it to others. It's when, say, you buy a new computer with another operation system with a better fast, you know, Intel 3, Intel 5 and up. So it means much greater processing power. So in regards to our brain, it means our brain is upgraded to another level where it's literally kind of reformats all lower frequency brainwaves and integrates the brain, balances it, and makes it work really fast, like, you know, laser-like, make everything coherent. So it gives you that super function. And I mean, as you know, we see on our mind mirror, we see these gamma brainwaves on top, you know, of the screen, and it will drag naturally, you know, beta, but it's no stress. It's really fast, active in time, and it will also drag, you know, delta in the bottom, like open and increase its amplitude. So that's how I explain it to people. You upgrade your brain.
Yeah, it is.
What I know, it's just literally, it's related to this neocortex and neural pathways in your brain, which is related to neuroplasticity as well. Anyway, it's kind of the next step in humanity evolution, if you like, and the next step in human consciousness evolution, if you like.
Yeah, good intro.
Yeah.
You want me to pick up with an intro as well?
With what?
You want me to pick up with an intro as well?
Yes, Judith. I'm very happy to let you take it on.
And I suggest this because I have some screenshots to show people, and it'll make a little bit more sense, I think, what you're saying. What is all that? Cha-cha-cha. Okay, well, my computer for some reason is very slow. I've pressed screen share. Let's see if it actually works. Oh,
And while you're fixing it, Judith, I may simply add that it's really good news that our mind here allows to see gamma brainwaves. Because as far as I know, it's not. I mean, it was not like that before. And
there's a lot of feedback.
Usually suppress this high frequency waves.
Can you hear all that noise? Oh, good.
There's a lot of feedback I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Can people maybe mute?
Or I can mute everyone, maybe except Judith if you like.
Okay. All right. Well, I have my screen back now. All right. So how about the feedback? Is it better now?
It's much better.
Okay. I don't know what that was all about.
Because I turned my phone on speakerphone.
And I'm not
getting audio through this whole process.
Yeah, you know,
phone.
The problem might be, Oksana, that I accidentally pressed start video, and if I have the capability to start the video, it may be that you started the video and we both started it, so it could be all confused as a result. Okay, since the noise has settled down, let me bring up some stuff that well, Oksana, let's put you on the hot seat. Ha. Okay. So yes, everything Oksana said is absolutely right. It is an upgrade to the brain in a way. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. There are very specific things that cause gamma to manifest. We're looking at the mind mirror screen right now, and you can see that in this particular meditation, we're looking at a very high amplitude, 59 and 49 hertz, which is rolling down on into 38 as well. That is typically where we see these gamma waves in these frequencies. I ran into gamma when I was doing my training with Anna Wise in 2005, and for the independent study work, went and checked the brain waves of just about all of my people were meditators, advanced meditators, and healers and intuitives. And I saw a lot of activity in the old mind mirror. 38 hertz was as high as we could see, but I would see these bars that were extended like this, seemingly hanging out there all on their own. And I asked Anna what she thought that was, and she said energetics. And it is energetics too. She knew more about gamma than she told us. I ran across a book a few years ago by PMH Atwater. I think I mentioned this on the Self-Trainers webinar. And Anna mapped the brain waves of near-death survivors, and they all showed gamma. And so in that sense, in the sense that of being an upgrade from some spiritual energy, that is absolutely true. Something does happen to people who have near-death experiences, and then they come back and they are upgraded with these higher frequencies. But other things can cause it as well. Let's see, here's another of Oksana's. This is more the mind mirror summary. And you can see that here in the mind mirror summary, she's got more beta, more gamma and beta than you would normally see in an awakened mind pattern, which is going to have gamma beta about to these amplitudes instead. Regular meditation can cause gamma frequencies to arise, and everybody who is a long-term meditator knows that. I'm just going to show you a few other people's patterns. So here's Andrea Grow with a lot of gamma over this level of theta. these amplitudes of theta, you would expect her awakened mind pattern indeed is there. So if you go deep down into meditation, here's Brandon, somebody, guy who owns a float tank company in Seattle, and he's done a ton of meditation. So regular meditation ultimately will develop gamma. It could take years and years and years before that happens. But the reason that meditation develops gamma is because attentional awareness, that is one thing that's really associated a lot with it. And all the neuroscientists like Richard Davidson, Wolf Singer, and others who have been really focused on gamma since Anna Wise's time and producing a lot of studies on it, they are saying attentional awareness because mostly they're seeing it in Tibetan monks and Franciscan and Carmelite nuns who, when they pray or when they meditate, have developed such a level of discipline over their mind's awareness and consciousness that they have associated it, therefore, with a disciplined mind. Similarly, compassion is another association of these high-frequency gamma waves. And they are assuming that because, indeed, when you are feeling love or joy, then you have the same spiritualizing effect, this upgrade situation that, that people report and experience. Here's another one. Looks almost like an awakened mind, doesn't it? Except the awakened mind would be more like this and not like this. So here's a woman who's a neuro-optimal therapist in Canada, as well as a very strong intuitive. So the other thing that happens when you have high attentional awareness and compassion, and you have spent a lot of time in your lower frequencies in connection with this field, universal field of consciousness, again, getting the upgrade, is that you become very, very intuitive. And indeed, she is highly intuitive. Now, this one is a professional channel, Ghislaine Salafranc. I'm trying to get Ghislaine to join us, but she says that her English is not good enough, so she will join us at some point. She travels the world as a medium, and you can see, again, this high gamma. And now, what's interesting at this picture and some of the ones we've seen previously is that you don't see a lot of theta for that amount of alpha. And it almost seems like when people start to concentrate consciousness in these higher frequencies for intuition or for healing or whatever, that some of the theta loses amplitude, even some of the delta. What ultimately I've seen happen with the people that you've seen so far, who are the ones who have taught me about how this gamma works, is that the longer they spend in meditation and the more grounded they feel, the greater the amplitude and the greater the synchrony. Synchrony means that the gamma is integrated with the beta, as opposed to this first pattern we saw of Oksana's, where she wasn't in the meditation very much yet, and these amplitudes hadn't moved into the synchrony. Let's see, we've seen that one of Oksana. Let's look, here's another one of Ghislaine. It's on just on a white canvas. Same thing, not as much theta, ton of amplitude up here. And for Ghislaine, especially in the right brain, she has more amplitude in the right. Now, some people have more amplitude in the left. I don't know what that is about yet. At one point, I had a big aha. I don't have, well, yeah, I do. This one is Joel. Joel, who was with us from France, he's got more gamma amplitude on the left. So then the question becomes, well, why is that? And I thought, you know, maybe, and this is something that we can all look at as time goes by, maybe they're processing in that part of the meditation in the left brain. I mean, I can't think what else it would be but that. For Ghislaine, well, she's an intuitive channel. Joel, as you may remember from our self-trainer webinar, is a community builder. So he knits communities together internationally and really organizing, arranging all the stuff you would expect the left brain to do. Whereas Ghislaine, being a channel, is operating on this more intuitive, spiritual right brain. But we can't make that generality yet, but it is something that we can look at. So it is a very different brainwave pattern: attentional awareness, compassion. A lot of people associate high gamma amplitudes with out-of-body experiences, and then we said near-death experiences. And so what are the effects? Why do we care about it? The main reason is because of the whole brain synchrony. When you see gamma amplitudes in the highest frequencies separated from the beta, not synchronized, what I typically have seen is that those folks are very, very vulnerable to and bothered by electricity, sitting at computers for long periods of time. But when they move down into their theta, they feel more grounded. And then the gamma starts to integrate with the beta. And indeed, that is the main reason that gamma synchrony and even gamma in general have begun to be more interesting to these neuroscientists, because he wants to join us. David Slade, what is the link? Couldn't get into his PayPal. So Oksana, do you have an email address for David? Can send him something there. Okay, so when people deepen into their theta and the synchrony happens and they feel more grounded, and Oksana could be the first one that can tell you this, when she's meditating or just talking or anything and her gamma amplitudes in these high frequencies are buzzing, and a lot of people will report this as a buzz. I feel buzzed. And in fact, it can raise the heart rate. I've seen that on a lot of sessions. Their heart rate rises or the GSR readings rise. But the Oksana will go outside and swim in the creek, work in the garden. Most people who are running this high gamma, they have to ground. We can help them as practitioners ground during an awakened mind meditation, or just remind them, go down and in, deeper down and in, deeper down and in, and they get down into their theta, and you get the synchrony. The synchrony is a very real thing in the brain. The gamma is a lot happening here in the frontal cortex, and when it synchronizes, like you see in this picture, a lot of noise there. Can y'all hear me over the noise? Okay. Then the whole brain synchronizes across lobes. All 4 lobes of the brain synchronize in both hemispheres. And then there's a synchrony that occurs across the frequencies as well. And we are absolutely looking at the synchrony right now. You know, as you know, the awakened mind is the pattern of unity, where an open flow in consciousness travels from the gamma in this picture into the beta. There's communication through the alpha bridge with theta and the delta. So what they're reporting as gamma synchrony is they're seeing it on PET scans and fMRIs and all kinds of things like that, and we're seeing it on the mind mirror. And then why do we care about it ultimately, that we have gamma synchrony? Well, I call it the high voltage brain power of the mega mind, because this is a person who's switched on. They're talkative, they're excited, they're laughing, they are experiencing high levels of creative flow, intuitive insight. They're just coming in really fast all the time. And because the brain is switched on. And because the brain is switched on, it's forming new nerve cells in the frontal lobes, in the areas of the intellect and the creativity, and also the hippocampus, which is memory storage and retrieval. And so when Oksana said that this is the quantum leap in human consciousness, it really is, because if you cut more brain power and more ability, more intelligence access, the ability to develop more and use more intelligence and your creativity, that's the quantum leap. The other thing Oksana mentioned is that there's a rewiring is sped up, and therefore inner healing and transformation is sped up because neuroplasticity happens at a faster rate inside the brain. I want to make a change. I'm running all this gamma. I want to make a change. Boom, the change is made. Gamma people are going to be big manifestors outside as well as internally in consciousness as well. So yeah, we love this gamma stuff. And I thought that I would show you something very cool here. I pulled up a session of my own that I mentioned in both the user manual and the self-training webinar. And this was a Gateway Monroe Institute meditation done a couple of 3 years ago. And so we said that attentional awareness, which is a beta activity, compassion, which is, we could probably make a case for a theta activity, and for those of you who see this as a hologram, picture of a human inside the brain being a hologram as well, you could say that it's the heart, compassion, you could say an alpha theta activity. If you are doing lots of dream work, which would develop your intuition anyway, that will develop your gamma as well. If you have a very strong and very deep spiritual connection, that will certainly develop gamma. Most of the time, we're going to see most people with a flat, very flat, 59, 49 hertz here. So in this session, typically I'm at, let's see, 2902, typically a flat gamma for me, and you can see it right here. I'm going to keep the attenuation set on 17 so you can see the changes and what causes the changes. So in the Monroe Institute meditation, what happens is that there are these binaural beats, and they are taking you through these focus levels. You start out putting all of your earthly cares into a little treasure chest, a box, separate from the outside environment that pulls you in. And then you imagine yourself expanding your field, and then you do some resonant tuning, and then they start to take you up to focus level 10, which for us is just a regular meditation. Focus level 12, which is about probably somewhere in here on this gamma amplitude window. You can see that my gamma amplitude was 0.5 microvolts to start with, stayed at 0.5, but then it started to rise as I went up these focus levels. And then it bottomed out a little bit, and then it started to rise again. So what I want to show you here is the other ways that, which I think for us as mind mirror practitioners, even self-trainers, advanced self-trainers, is really important for us to understand. See if you agree with this. I'm going to show you what I think is proof of it. The other way, and perhaps the reason all of it works, in terms of meditation being the main pathway to formation of gamma, is because when you go down into lower frequencies, which I'm certainly doing here, you can see on this dominant frequency, I had the typical high amplitude frequency, highest amplitude frequency is 10.5, the classic alpha peak. So there it is right there. But then I start to drop. The frequencies start to drop as I start moving down into a lower alpha peak at 9 hertz. And then, as I'm going to show you in a moment, this is 4 minutes into the session. I'll go back to 2903. So they're taking me. I told them in Rome Institute when I went there. I said, "Oh, you're taking us into yoga nidra. That's how you're doing it. You're waking up inside the unconscious mind." They said, "Well, we don't call it that, but that's what it is." So watch these low frequencies. Super high amplitudes in theta, high amplitudes in delta. So I think that what's happening for meditators, especially long-term meditators who are dropping their alpha peak to 9 hertz, is that they are starting to center their consciousness in theta and delta, and that's giving them the access to the field that provokes these gamma frequencies. Because what researchers are telling us, what they're saying now, and I have only seen it a couple of times, but it makes so much sense. They're saying that high amplitude theta and high amplitude delta cause gamma frequencies to arise and ride like an FM carrier wave, like a harmonic, a higher harmonic on these super low frequencies. See that? And so right now I'm at 3110, which is about, let's see, 27. Okay, so that's where these pictures are right here, and you can see the gamma amplitude is low here, but it's going to start to rise because the lower I go, then I start to resonate with those higher frequencies. And so let's take it over here to 3947. Don't you love the second timer clock? Must have been a gamma insight. I woke up with that idea one morning, and it is a big game changer for us because now we can just scroll. Okay, now the gamma frequencies are higher. Look at that. Higher amplitudes than we saw before. Still a lot going on down here. But the other thing that's happening, and I think this is just mind-blowing. So ultimately, to close that out, I think that what's happening is you go down to go out and up. And that's what's happened. That's how it works with consciousness. And why wouldn't it? You would be going down into your spiritual connection in theta, and then you would be going down to your personal unconscious, which is your connection with the collective unconscious. You go down, you get super quiet, and then you start to wah, 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 resonate with the higher frequencies in the field, and then these higher frequencies, you take them in, you're spiritualized, and that's just a funny little word of mine, you're spiritualized by them, and the next thing you know, there's big brain changes, synchronization, inner peace, unity, compassion, spiritual awareness, and the thing I love the best, an evolved mind pattern. Now this is an evolved mind pattern at the bottom, but lately in fact, I felt like a total dumbbell when I realized this. Well, duh, what is an evolved mind pattern at the top but high amplitude gamma? How about that, Helen? You know, I never saw it before. It just suddenly, I realized it. That when you see the circular evolved mind pattern, what you're seeing is these gamma beta frequencies joining up in a whole brain synchrony with the whole rest of the pattern. And for years, and I'll open up this up to questions because this is a lot to throw at you all at once, and we're certainly going to look at the healer pattern in a couple of moments. I just want to give this foundation to start with. I certainly, we look at that Lesh Scale 6, and it says access to intuitive insights. You see things in a new way, spiritual light. Every single one of those state 6 explanations or descriptions is exactly what the Franciscan nuns, the monks, everyone who has an evolved mind pattern, all of us who have ever tipped into an evolved mind pattern, we say the exact same thing, same descriptor. Well, I think this is why, because when somebody flares into a circular evolved mind pattern, and you'll see Franz the healer doing this shortly, it's because they've got these high amplitude gamma coming out here. So just to sum that up before we look at Franz and open this up to questions, it's so cool that we've got this new mind mirror and we can look at these gamma frequencies now. Above 60 hertz in the US is not dependable, because then you get into the realm of muscle tension. We go back to Oksana's opening. Muscle tension in the range of 75 to 100 hertz. So what we just do to rule that out is producing fake gamma. We just look at the SEMG artifact amplitude window. And that thing's, I don't know if our own pictures are in the way of this window on your screen, they are on mine. Okay, if this is lower than 5 microvolts, it's not producing artifact. If it's higher than 5 microvolts, then what's happening up here is a flow down. It's of those frequencies up there. See that? Does that make any sense? Let me repeat that better. SEMG artifact that's caused by frowning or gritting your teeth or head movement or tension anywhere in the head, neck, and jaw, that shows up on the mind mirror in the range of 75 to 100 hertz. Our mind mirror is an organic representation of the brain in that it allows frequencies to flow down one to another. And so we're going to see if it's above 5 microvolts of SEMG artifact, you can see it right here. And this bar gets way out there, then that's no good. Then we can't trust what we're seeing up here, right? But if it's very low, like it was below 5, then okay, we're looking at real gamma. Unless we're looking at movement, but that's SEMG artifact. Okay, so questions, anybody, about this gamma stuff? What have you seen or experienced with it?
Judith? Hello? Hello? May I say when? Can you hear me? Hello? I'm not sure you can hear me.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay, that's good. I wanted to add, because, I mean, as I have gamma, I probably can share my experience, how I feel from inside when I definitely know that, you know, I'm burning out. It's like, you know, some electrical appliances can burn out, and that's why we have always have kind of grounding cable. And that's the way to prevent them from burning out. And I think humans in this case, we are like these electrical devices. We need to be grounded. If you're running big gamma, make sure you can get somewhere out in nature. Just sit on the ground and meditate. It's very good for you to feel grounded. Working in the garden helps as well, as you know. And going and interacting with water in any way. So swimming in the creek, walking on the beach, swimming in the ocean, like any interaction, or even having a bath, it will help you to ground. Water is very calming and very grounding. And in my case, I can also add, be very careful with all these stimulating drinks like coffee and Coca-Cola, because they make it worse.
Right.
Yeah, seriously.
And you know, that reminds me, is a lot of people fast and go on intense fasts, and I can't swear to it because I haven't seen anybody hooked up, but including myself. But if I fast for a day or two, I start to feel lightheaded, and I will lay odds that it's gamma. I start getting a way more intuitive, and my field, energy field, becomes more sensitive. So that's another thing. If you fast a lot, it's good to stay grounded, be able to stay grounded.
Yeah, and then there is another thing that I wanted to add about gamma brainwaves, because most of people will ask, what can I do to get this brainwave? And the idea is that apparently from other research that you shared, people who are on ayahuasca and DMT, they may show gamma as a result of it. Could you say anything on that?
Are you talking about DMT?
Yes, and the ayahuasca, because they're kind of similar in their effect on the brain. And Graham will tell you they're similar from their chemical point of view as well. So these are one of the ways of how people get it. And there is research out there, I'm not sure it's still available on the internet, about ayahuasca actually making people produce this gamma brainwaves.
Well, having done DMT, I can tell you, and ayahuasca and peyote, I mean, there certainly is an LSD in the 1960s, for that matter. There certainly is a relationship with cosmic consciousness. I mean, that's why people did all those psychedelics back then and still today. It's a shortcut, and you can't sustain it, or else you couldn't function. But you certainly do go into a higher level of reality. Although I think I would prefer to do it the natural way, right?
No, I'm not in any way. I'm not encouraging people to go that.
Yeah.
It's all the way of addictions, where you become eventually the victim of your addiction. So it won't be a healthy way. It may kill you. It's very high price to pay and high risk to pay.
Yeah, to go like down to go out and up, right?
No manipulation or speculation with your, with your brain.
Right, the disclaimer.
And another thing that I want to share, I'm not sure whether I'll be able to share the screen, but I'll just tell people that you remember when we were talking about the way we see brainwaves on the screen, and you're saying that actually big delta is also related to sometimes the big gamma. Remember, so I told you that to me, I personally see it not as a flat picture, but see it more as a torus. If people know what it is like, it's like a donut shape, and it's the natural kind of geometry of how the energy is flowing around any living systems, like around human beings and around planets, and even, you know, atmospheric movements. You'll see they will follow this toroidal pattern. So I think that what we see on this screen may really be considered as kind of a torus, which kind of goes in and unfolds itself. There's movement in both directions. So I encourage to have a look, just Google torus and look at any video, and you'll see how toroidal movement happens. And it may help you to understand that actually, yes, gamma brainwaves are truly related to delta brainwaves.
Yeah, yeah, they are.
Yeah, that's very good.
So do we have any other questions about the whole concept of gamma, or you want to go ahead and take a look at the session that has the healers in it?
Oh, that would be interesting.
Very interesting.
Okay. So let's see. Hopefully I'll get the right session in here. La la la. I meant to put this on anonymized clients, but then I can't see who they are, right? Let's see. Here we are. Susan Andrews was the recipient. She is a Reiki healer. I do not want to load this creative screen set. Update it. So it's just a little bit of intro to that. This is Franz Steiner. He is a long-term Reiki healer who had an experience of spontaneous enlightenment years ago with a village woman who gave him basically a transmission of light. Boom. And then he's had several ever since. I did a session on him with Mind Mirror 3 several years ago in Washington. Again, he was teaching in Washington, and I had 2 mind mirrors and 2 computers and monitored Franz and another Reiki healer. But the question was always, wait a minute, what if, could whoever's dumping out a change purse mute their mic? Okay, so so I kept thinking, you know, I don't have an SEMG artifact window here, and I can't check. So maybe he was frowning, and that's why I saw that gamma, and maybe it wasn't real. So this September, I went and met him in Washington again, and it was real. And this is the session that we did. So I'm sitting over there monitoring. Luckily now on one computer, they're each hooked up to Mind Mirror 6. And a really interesting session. I'm going to show you a few things about it. So you see the red lights flaring. There's the SEMG artifact we can't trust when it goes above 5. This is Susan's brainwaves, Susan on the left and Franz on the right. I'm monitoring her right now at 20 microvolts and Franz at 17. But even if I take Franz out to 20, you can see that he already, at the very beginning, has more gamma than she does. This is the kind of gamma we would normally see. And actually, at this point, other than that giant alpha that she's got, no doubt the result of being a Reiki healer, if we were to do what we normally do as practitioners to watch patterns, because we're really looking at very often, I am looking at almost always, really. I want to see the relationship between theta and beta, because we, according to our awakened mind ratios, have got beta at a, say 1, alpha at 1 at 2, twice the size of beta, and then theta at 1.6. So 1 to 2 to 1.6. So that means that theta is going to be bigger than beta. Some people have so incredibly much alpha amplitude that if you move the screen around so that you could look at the totality of their alpha, then the theta would get so small, you see, that you couldn't see what was going on. So sometimes you have to let that alpha go off the screen. And we can do that a little bit with her right here. So you can see, let's see, he's at 20. Let's bring him down to 15 so they're the same. So now they're both on 15 microvolts, and you can really see the difference. You can see that Franz is just flared into this beautiful evolved mind pattern a moment ago. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, and he's flaring all over the place. She's got an upturned delta herself. Again, as a result of doing Reiki work and being connected to the field, she's also got a lot of theta. But from the get-go, he's got more gamma. And not just gamma in the top 2 frequency bars, but all the way down. And again, this says that that evolved mind pattern is a pattern that involves gamma, and always have. We just never thought of it that way before. See, he's flaring here on the right, and got a real strong pattern now. Again, look at his gamma compared to her gamma. So, of course, we can look at a session by replaying it frame by frame, and that's how we had to look at the old Mind Mirror 3 sessions. Luckily, we don't have to do that anymore. The first thing we're going to want to do is rule out SEMG artifact as being responsible for anything we're seeing on this screen. So let's look at her left brain artifact amplitude. Well, some of the time she has got, if I hit the shift key where my cursor is and then left click, she's got some 4 microvolt, but mostly she's probably down here, shift, left click. She's really mostly staying at 2.5 microvolts, so that's not a problem. So we look at Franz's left brain SEMG artifact. And he does at times have close to 5. And the reason for that is because a lot of the time Franz was standing up with his hands over Susan, and some of the time he was chanting. So what I did with this session is to say, okay, what we need to do is look at only the segment that has the lowest discernible SEMG artifacts. So I'm going to right click to go to display options and try to get a trend line. I'm just going to say for the data range 0 to 7. Okay, so now I can hit the down arrow. All right, so he has got some very visible peaks and valleys here. So what I did was I said, okay, let me see if I can get this down here so you can see the numbers. Yeah, that's better. I said, this segment right here looks like the lowest SEMG artifact in the whole session. This one's pretty low too. I could put a marker in here and then another marker over here. Say, okay, that's low, kind of decent low, but this is definitely lower. And so when I analyzed the session and started to look at the 2 of them together and how they interacted together, I said, okay, this I can trust because there's not much SEMG artifact here. In fact, if you shift and left click, that's just 1. That's way below these peaks you see up here that start to bang against the 5. So if we only look at this one right here, and that's what we're going to do, we can say, all right, left click on this first marker, that's at 1445. And then we're going to left click on the second marker, and that's 1632. So let's go over there and look at his gamma, 1445. And I had some notes on the session. I was tracking the session. drawing brainwaves, drawing his brainwaves. No, actually, I was drawing her brainwave patterns and writing down what he was doing. And so I knew when I looked at my notes that this is when he was standing above Susan and not chanting, and he did raise his hands a little bit, but it wasn't enough to give us this SEMG artifact of 5 that would make us wary of his pattern. So this is, to do the summary, the analysis of this session, I said, okay, let's only trust this one, and am I 1438? I am. So now we can watch his pattern. You can see he's still got more gamma than she does, but her gamma has increased. Remember how it was flat? I'm going to show you the gamma amplitude window so you can see that her gamma has steadily increased. She's got more now because he's been working on her with his gamma. There's a resonant effect that's took place here. So we're seeing lots of awakened mind flares, enough alpha, but also a beautiful gamma synchrony pattern when he's totally still. Really nice gamma synchrony. That one right there. There's another one, except for that 24 flare there. And again, we see this situation where the concentration of consciousness is up here, and all he was doing was praying for her. And it's not in the theta. The theta amplitude drops because the concentration is up here. Okay, and so you see this evolved mind thing where he's got a lot of rounding, and we're going to run into, in a minute I'm going to scroll even further down into the session, and you're going to start to see a lot more evolved mind patterns. There's a nice rounding there with an awakened mind on the right. So this is this gamma amplitude triggering possibly from the top down or the bottom up. Who knows? Who can say? It's just one consciousness. As Oksana has says, it's one torus. You know, there's a big, beautiful evolved mind flare on the right. But what's cool about this thing is if we look at her left brain gamma amplitude window, because they're both, you know, hemispherically symmetrical, so we can get away with looking only at the left. You could look at left and right if you wanted. And then his gamma amplitude. What we see is how they tracked each other. Let me see if I can move this down. Ah, good. All right, so we got to line the screens up as closely as possible. And then we left click and then right click to go to display options. We go to the trend line. Let's see, 6 microvolts is plenty. So for data range 0 to 6, and then the software always selects more than 6. You can see it selected 7. But then I want to use the same data range on her, so we're looking at the same thing. Again, the trend line, I mean on him, 0 to 6. And now that I've got them on the same scale of 7, what we can do is left click and hit the down arrow, and then left click and hit the down arrow. And now it's given us a scale of 3. So look at his gamma. So watch what happens with him. His gamma is high. Now some of that is because he's standing there moving his hands and chanting. But look in our segment 8 rather, when he's nice and quiet. Now, from my notes, I knew that that he wasn't. He was mostly standing around here. But see how her gamma's rising? No reason, no other reason for her gamma to rise. Now she quiets down a little bit when he quiets down. Her gamma goes up. So does his. His goes down when he gets all quiet. And so does hers. Now he goes back up, his gamma amplitudes increase at the end, she stays pretty solid. So I looked at this and said, I think they're tracking each other. There's a resonant effect here where his higher amplitude gammas are doing something really interesting. Now, the other thing we can do to look at this pattern, we could certainly look at a mind mirror summary for the whole pattern. She's on sensors 1 and 5 for her. Now, those of you who know how the mind mirror summary works know that this is averaging all of her brainwave patterns throughout the whole session. So that obviously takes a little bit of time. We turn on the gamma screen, gorgeous awakened mind pattern. Beautiful, classic awakened mind pattern. And in fact, we put accumulate statistics on. For the awakened mind, she's got a 79% at training level 5, which means that at this training level allows her to deviate from the pattern. She gets a reward with only a 50% deviation from the exact ratios of 1 to 1.61. You can also see in her mind mirror summary that she's got an upturned delta, and we saw evidence of that during the session, didn't we? She knows how to go down into her unconscious awareness and how to connect with the field, which is what Reiki healers do. So this 79% reward,
excuse me,
bless you,
sorry,
at training level 5 is a really good score. But she also got a high score for gamma synchrony because of this rise. When she started to rise, this software said, oh, wait a minute. She hasn't just got the awakened mind. She's also got some gamma synchrony going here. Put accumulate statistics on, and it gives her an 87% at training level 5, which is pretty extraordinary. And so we do the same thing for Franz. Now, there's a little funny thing here where you can't, once you hit a mind mirror summary on person number 2, it won't bring up a training summary or a mind mirror plot. So if we wanted to see, and we do, his mind mirror summaries, we're going to just exit that, and we'll exit the summary plot. And so now we want to get an overview of the entire session for him. Mind mirror summary, he's on sensors 2 and 6. And look at his pattern. His average pattern is a whole different animal, isn't it? See that? Ton of gamma up here. Now, some of that, we will say, could be because of these spikes. And in actuality, there aren't that many spikes. I don't know if I kept this. Yeah, that's him. There aren't that many spikes at 5. If we zoom back out, really, you know, I'm being super conservative here. Only a few times did he spike above 5. So if we want to be not so conservative, we can say probably 98% of this gamma is Franz's. For those few spikes, probably 99.8. So you can see why his gamma affected her tiny bitty gamma beta that we saw to begin with. Now his training level, if we accumulate statistics, he's got a gamma synchrony of 79, 60. I'm surprised his isn't a higher score, actually. I wonder why it's not. It's not on enforced symmetry. That's kind of weird. But still, 79% at training level 6, pretty extraordinary. Oh, I know why, except I just closed it. he's going to have more evolved mind flares, and I'll show you why in just a moment. So let's clear the summary plot. Shows him an awakened mind at 3. His gamma synchrony, heavy scores at 4. Even he's got some gamma synchronies at training level 3, which allows only 30%, well, I always get confused below 50. It allows, you have to have 70% attainment, or a deviation of only 30% at training level 3. So this is, I mean, nobody's at training level 3. Some people are scoring well at 4, maybe 25, 35%. Some people are a little bit higher. Most people are self-training at training level 5 and getting 70s, 80s. I've even seen a couple of people with 90s, scores of 90, which means they ought to be training at training level 4 if they're self-training. So, yeah, I think that it's pretty clear that what happened was he transmitted this gamma to her. Yeah, and actually here we could, no, let's don't do that. Let's do this instead. So what I love about this mind mirror summary is that you can look at it for the entire session, or you can look at it for segments. So what I did, and I won't take up your time doing it right now. Well, actually, I queued this up. Let's see if I can find it. All right, there's us on Zoom. Institute. No, it's down here. It's on. Yeah, here it is. On the Institute for the Awakened Mind website, created this new page under research. First, we've got Max Cade's papers, then we've got meditation research, which is studies that many organizations have done on, and then created for this Steiner study, this Franz Steiner study, a new page called Mind Mirror Studies. We really want to see this page full of studies like this one. So his original study I did with him is called The Brainwaves of Reiki on the Mind Mirror 3. The current study we're looking at right now is got an article that's a summary about, and tells a lot about gamma and what we've been talking about here. The second one is the data analysis, so that's what I want to show you right now. So I went through each one of those segments. So we just looked at segment 8 and saw that that's the lowest artifact. This is what we just looked at, her mind mirror summary pattern for the whole session versus his. And then, so transmission and chanting, let's see, oh, here's a segment summary for segment number 9 for Franz when he's doing a standing stillness. I'm sorry, that's segment 8, and then segment 9 where he's doing quiet words or chanting. So you see the difference. It doesn't have to interrupt. It doesn't have to be an SEMG artifact, but when you are articulating or chanting, you will see more amplitude. Because now your mind is working, right? Might be working with compassion and intuition and connection to universal awareness, but there is a difference in the amplitude. So that's why I went with section 8 of the study and said, let's just look at him when it's just Franz, and you can see he's definitely got this gamma synchrony pattern. This here just shows that's the awakened mind pattern, but you can see that she had a whole lot of evolved mind flares, as did he, throughout this session. And there's one of his evolved mind flares, a pretty strong one right there. And now she has got an upturned delta at the bottom with an evolved mind flare, same time he did. An even stronger evolved mind flare here. That's at 15:12 minutes, 15:27 minutes. Now she has picked up his evolved mind flare. See that? Rounding there, this kind of diamond pattern here. As his gamma rises and he goes into more evolved mind patterns, so does she. She gets the gamma and she gets the evolved mind patterns. We've seen his segmented summaries. Now this is a complicated one. Rather than take time to drag up all these segmented summaries, I'll just show you this on here. So I went through various summaries, segments rather, set them apart with markers, and for her, these are hers right here, her segments. Wait. Make sure I know what I'm saying. Yeah. These are the mind mirror summaries for Susan. And you can see the rounding. Check this out. Okay, there's her segment 1 when he's standing above or whatever he was doing. She's got this rounding. That's her. As a Reiki healer, she got the rounding for the evolved mind connection, or, you know, mind mirror practitioners, mindful of them, I can also say that maybe it's not just a spiritual connection for her. Maybe she's just going down into her unconscious mind and bringing up unconscious material that's flowing up, and that's the reason for the rounding, or the same, one and the same. Kind of the same pattern here, very small differences, same pattern here. But now she's got a little bit more delta down here, and by God, she's got more gamma up here. See the difference in the gamma? From between here, it's growing, isn't it? Her amplitudes are increasing throughout. There's kind of the same pattern there, except the delta's not upturned. And segment 7, she kind of goes back to her awakened mind pattern. But by the time we get to 8, boy, she's got some serious gamma then and upturn. And by the time we get to 9 at the very end of the session, she's got the gamma and she's got the upturn. So look at the difference between segment 1 and segment 9. See that? And this segment, this session wasn't that long. It was like 18 minutes. So in 18 minutes, she grew the potential to not only be more intuitive and compassionate and attentionally aware and inwardly united, but she also grew that gamma that does the whole brain synchrony, which we're seeing here, and the neuroplasticity for the rewiring of her brain. Now, this is the same thing with Franz. He starts out now in a beautiful gamma synchrony pattern. This one, bigger delta. This one, I keep him at 9 microvolts, but still bigger delta. It's actually going off the screen right here. Gamma synchrony, he maintains this pattern the entire time, except that at the end, when he stops talking and moving around, he's got more than he started with. Pretty cool, huh? So, you know, I'm not a scientist, and except for this, but if you look at the data here, I think that it's a pretty fair conclusion that not only does the recipient grow in consciousness during a Reiki healing and potentially any other kind of healing situation, but so does the healer. Got more than he started with. And indeed, that's what healers say. And if you've ever done a healing session on anyone, you know this. You know, I've done some Reiki sessions on other people, and I feel way better than I started out. So you can get 18 minutes, 18.46 minutes. You can go and look at this thing and read it all the way through if you want, and it, you know, it's as detailed data analysis as I knew how to do. But as Oksana started out saying, the key, you've got to check this SEMG artifact amplitude and make sure it's real gamma, and then look at the gamma screens and, you know, see when the gamma increased, and if possible, if you're only working with yourself, you could be hooked up to the GSR and the BVP. Joel Mitchell is the first one I noticed this on, because he's got a ton of gamma. He was on here. He won't mind my talking about him. He was on the Self-Trainer Conference with us. And Joel has got a ton of gamma, and he first described it to me as a shivery, fluttery feeling. And what I noticed was that his heart rate sped up. The stronger the gamma amplitude, the faster his heartbeat. So these frequencies do arouse the body. And so when Oksana says, if you're running a lot of gamma, make sure you ground, you really need to ground because of the effect on the body as well. Gamma is very closely associated with Kundalini rises. And that's why Anna said energetics. So you want to make sure your Kundalini energies are beneficial to your body, rather than running amok in this high frequency, high amplitude gamma and out there on their own. And I tell you, almost everyone I've seen the high frequency, high amplitude gamma, and the people who were mostly having trouble with electricity, and I can't be around computers, I have to put all these little odd electromagnetic neutralizers on the computer. Those people are, a lot of them are vegetarians, and I'm not saying eat meat to ground, although that does work. But if you don't do that, it's really important for the sake of your heart, for your central nervous system, that the grounding does take place. We want to build it, but we want to build it so that what comes is higher consciousness integrated with our earthly beingness. See? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Judith, I can say that you remember last time, I think Marvin mentioned this Earth Institute and grounding, and I tested one of their kind of ground mats that you can plug in, and actually it's plugged into the socket where, you know, for the grounding hole. Because in Australia we can see which hole is responsible for grounding. So, and it really does help when you're working on the computer.
Is that earthing mat that Marv was talking about last time?
Yes, it is the kind of, it looks like black, and if you're working at the computer and you put it on the table or on the floor and just put your feet on it, it really helps. Kind of, it has similar effect as you would be sitting outside.
That's great.
And working with your feet on the ground, and it's really good for you.
That's really great. Just to say a little bit more about that, Marv talked about that last week on the Self-Trainers second conference, and or no, that was the first one. Yeah. And so that one was free, and if you're interested, we can send you a link to it. Maybe we'll do that when we send you the link to this recording, and you can take a look at it. And he's explaining about that being a way to reconnect with the Earth's energies rather than the stuff that's coming out of the mains electrical supply. You know, I think that's why the gamma people can't really tolerate you know, the electricity. They're operating, see, in those frequencies themselves, and that's what electricity is. And so they're feeling that electricity. And similarly, gamma people have a really hard time being around people who are toxic. Don't we all, right? But especially gamma people, because they feel their energies so intensely. The highly sensitive person who's running those gamma waves, well, their field is very extended, and so having that extended field with that big delta as well, then they're feeling kind of, you know, everything. And so it's really, that's another reason for the gamma person to ground not only to the earth, but to their own theta waves, because they get down and they can get down into their theta, to their own essential being. That's going to retract their field, you see, their energy field.
And
bring them more into themselves.
I exactly agree with you. It's not just sensitivity to other people. You become sensitive to, you know, concrete environment. So if you are in a city apartment, it's like in a box. You start literally feeling that the ceiling is pressing on you. It feels like you need to get out.
Right.
That's how urgent in nature. So you have, you know, nothing above your head. That's how I feel done as well. Get out and make sure you're not under the roof, under the cover.
You know, Franz said something about that. Let me see if I can get this thing to move somewhere else. Ooh-lee-loo, so I can go. Thank you. Franz told an interesting story. Let me see which one. The harmonics of healing. It's the story that precedes that data analysis that we just looked at. He said that he went to I guess he was, here it is. He said he had experienced a second experience, at least, of spontaneous illumination, where he'd been teaching and conducting healing sessions for 3 weeks in different cities, and afterwards attended a 4-day meditation retreat. He awakened on the last morning of the retreat, showered, dressed, and walked into the common area on the way to a walk in the forest. And then suddenly he felt this energy expanding inside of him and collapsed on the floor. I'll let you read the rest of it, but the bottom line is that I didn't seem to fit in this thing called Franz anymore. I was too big. He crawled into the forest and poured gallons of water over his head and body, which now felt insignificant. His body was no longer who he was. It had become a jacket. And that continued for a very, very long time. But over the course of time, his body became so, he says, my body became so light that sometimes I felt like I didn't have a body. He also became more flexible despite doing nothing to foster that. His breathing had shifted to both nostrils and became very smooth and soft. Anna taught us this, that everyone typically breathes through one nostril at a time. The other thing she said was that we change the dominant nostril every 90 minutes. Is that right, Helen?
Yep. Every 90 minutes.
Yeah, but he even integrated his nostril breathing. So I'm calling this the super conscious mind of gamma synchrony, because it is super conscious. And we're saying here that it is above in terms of a hierarchy, if there is such a thing inside of oneness, which maybe not. But down here from our little human perspective, what we're saying is that first the awakened mind, then the evolved mind pattern. And you know how that happens. You have this awakened mind pattern of unity with yourself and all else. And once you have that, then you start having these peak moments of illumination which flare you into the evolved mind pattern. And that's a gamma developer too. You know, it's really all about oneness, but there is a progression. And I think that the progression is that we drop other than the peak moments of illumination and prayer and living a contemplative life. In meditation, when we drop into these lower theta and delta frequencies and we increase those amplitudes, then we are definitely moving into this field of oneness and developing a still higher pattern. I've named it the superconscious mind. You know, call it what you want, but it is superconscious, and the reason is because you saw those patterns of Franz's. He ran those patterns, the same gamma synchrony pattern throughout the whole session, and I did a baseline with him we haven't looked at, but the baseline is the gamma synchrony pattern. So the superconscious part is that when you have the evolved mind pattern, the moment you open your eyes, well, your active external awareness of beta comes back into play, and you're outside. Now you're outside of the evolved mind pattern. You can't hold an evolved mind pattern. Well, some people, David Fairweather, and we'll let him talk about that, has been training eyes open evolved mind pattern. But most people, the moment they open their eyes, the beta remanifests and the evolved mind pattern disappears. The superconscious pattern, I've called it that because they're super conscious. These people who are running this gamma, and they hold the pattern. They're holding the awakened mind pattern with eyes open, and they're holding the super conscious pattern. So I wrote this book called Your Psychic Soul, and what I basically said is they're bringing heaven to earth and earth to heaven. You know, they are integrating the two. They're keeping their connection with higher consciousness and their connection with the earth at the same time. I have seen one other pattern, but I haven't seen it enough on the Mind Mirror 6 to show it to you. And it's gamma that gamma separates over an evolved mind pattern. And it's so rare. I've only seen it like 3 times ever, and only on the Mind Mirror 3 so far. David, you want
explore that other pattern when we will be talking about unusual cases?
Wait, say that again?
I'm just saying, maybe you could show us that other, you know, gamma above evolved mind pattern when we will be talking about unusual cases.
And we're talking about, oh yeah, a different subject, sure. And I can even find those Mind Mirror 3 patterns. I've got them stored some strange place. I can't remember where. But you know what? If I know it's almost 9:30, but I wonder if David Fairweather, are you still there, David?
I am, yeah.
Will you talk to, will you just, you know what, I would love it if you would tell people about your Mind Mirror self-training and what happened once you started training the awakened mind, and then what of your experiences training that evolved mind pattern with eyes open.
Well, I guess the thing I can easily speak to is that for some reason, in my training, with my eyes open, the evolved mind pattern, I got musical rewards for that, whereas with my eyes closed, I wasn't getting it. So just for simplicity's sake, it seemed to be speaking to me to do that. So I'm not, and I have a few different ways that I kind of keep my attention in a state that would leave that evolved mind pattern playing. I let my kind of attention toy with the reality in front of me. So very often, if there's a picture in front of me, at some point there'll be 2, and then they'll kind of merge together, or there'll be 3 or 6 of them or something. And I just kind of sit in awe of that, with my eyes open, having that kind of hallucination experience on top of reality somehow.
Transcendence, like a transcendent?
Well, I don't know that I feel like I'm drifting off somewhere and transcending into something. It feels like it's a different level of observation in some way. That's as close as I can kind of describe it.
Oh, that's nice. I heard somebody say witness.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. I heard something real cool about this witness one time. I used to go to this Unity church about 30 minutes away from my house, and I would always be late. And I one day had my grandson in the car, and he was at a very young age, super intuitive, and he says, "Granny, there's a policeman up there." So I slammed on the brakes, and I was just fussing, that I was really going to be late then. And I was listening to satellite radio, and there was a program on it that said that we have three aspects of ourselves. One is the doer, okay, the doer that's listening, that's doing, that's acting. One is the reactor. Let me say it differently. The doer is the one that's tapping the finger on the table, writing something, just kind of intellectually involved in an external task. The emotional reactor is the one that's having feelings about it. And then there's the witness. And I thought, wow, the witness. And I went, oh my God, I'm not in my witness.
Yeah.
And just went whoosh, slammed back. And then I certainly looked up and noticed the beautiful line of blue mountains. And I just felt this enormous expansion and consciousness, and got so relaxed and calm. And I went, oh, duh. I can be in church right now. I don't have to get to the church to be in church. I can be in my witness, and in a higher way of being. And that may be the key to this gamma synchrony and this super conscious, this universal consciousness pattern. That that it takes in everything else, but it's really living on a higher way of being, like David just described.
Well, I think of them like octaves of a string. If you think of a E string, at the 12th fret, there's another E. But if you halve that again, there's another harmonic of it. So to think that delta isn't related to gamma is bizarre, because they're all octaves of one another.
Yeah.
They're all raised octaves of the same consciousness. It's like C and C octave is consciousness and consciousness octave. And I don't know which one's the one in the middle, if there's such a thing, as they're kind of tumbling into each other in this torus. But yeah, sorry, I just thought I'd throw that thought out there.
No, it's, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Bill Bankston is a healer, and they've done a lot of studies of his brain. And the EEG readers or clinicians have never seen anything like it, because I don't think they very often monitor people that are really good at meditating or healing. But in his brain, whoever he's healing is completely entrained with his brain waves. And he has spikes at 7.8, 7.81, the Schumann resonance. And all of the other frequencies are harmonics of that 7.81.
Middle C.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, and they've, and I think there's an article I have about the studying him and training the person who's being healed. And then there's reference to a couple of other articles. So I think that's exactly right. It's the harmonics that are really tying it all together.
Definitely. And that 7.8, that's the alpha theta crossover.
Yes.
Isn't it, Robin? That's where healing occurs. That's what studies are saying. Schumann resonance for sure, but alpha theta.
Yeah.
It's that frequency on which people can connect basically with each other. Starting point where you ground, you connect with the earth, where you connect with everyone simultaneously, because that's the starting point. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it described as the biosphere is a container within which the electromagnetic frequencies average out at 7.8 or 7.81, and it's a standing wave. And so if we get ourselves to that frequency, then we're part of that standing wave within the container, and we're connecting with everything in the container. Isn't that amazing? Like,
beautiful.
Oh.
Beautiful.
I love this mind mirror. I mean, I haven't used mine yet, but this is exactly what I hoped it would be. I'm just so excited, I have to tell you.
I'm excited that you're excited. You know, there's lots of systems out there. Robin could tell you that. She's a neurofeedback therapist, and but this is the only one where you can read consciousness because of the relationships of the frequencies, and having this pattern, these patterns built on this 40 odd years of history. How many is it from 76 to 2016? Oh my God, have we just hit, is that 50 years? 40 years, all right.
46, yeah.
40 years. And so the coolest thing about what we're talking about right here is that we are the intrepid explorers, the pioneers of a new pattern, a new ways of understanding consciousness. And astonishingly to me, what we're seeing with these gamma frequencies essentially boils down to a quantum leap in human evolution that is an integration of spirituality and intelligence. It's not just intelligence, but it's happening in the intelligence centers, which are informing the whole rest of the brain. But it is a spiritual experience where it's bringing you up, is up into the spiritual realm. We are growing up.
Yes. and I think as a correlate of that, there is greater compassion and love. I think the two are together. You can't separate them. And I mean, I've been listening to Stephen Greer with the Disclosure Project, and he said something very interesting. And I mean, his theory about extraterrestrials, but they travel interdimensionally, he says. But and there's nothing to be feared, because in order to get to the other dimension, you cannot evolve your brain without evolving your compassion and love at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, to me, it just, he's another really quite amazing intrepid explorer.
I bet you that Oksana is increasing the size of... Oh, there you are. Now I can see you completely. Show thumbnail video. Maybe I have to do this. Oh, maybe I have to turn off my screen. Maybe you can turn my screen share off so we can be looking at people. Yes. What a pretty room, Deborah.
Yes. Oh, thank you. It's my bedroom.
Yeah, lovely.
Could you switch your share screen off? Or you can't do it yourself? You want me to do it?
Can I? I don't think I can do anything. Wait. Oh, I just go to my Zoom. Duh. Stop share.
Yes,
there we go.
Share. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Could you tell us about I Awake? What was the program about? You mentioned a little bit. You spoke a little bit during our previous.
Yeah, so I Awake, you're probably familiar with them. They're another binaural beats company. But they have just shot up to the top. You know, their Center Point with Holosync and Monroe with Hemisync. I Awake has, unlike the others, a very strong foundation in the awakened mind, and have always known about it. And as a consequence of their appreciation for our work, are doing and have done now an interview with James Ripley, who assisted Anna Wise for 6 months and is electroacupuncture healer and Awakened Mind practitioner out in Boulder, Colorado. And James, through Anna, met Elizabeth St. John, who is Anna Wise, was Anna Wise's sister-in-law, actually, and was.
When you let it cool a little bit, you just put a fork and you start pulling out the spaghetti. But I'm actually on the call.
Is somebody talking about spaghetti?
Sorry, spaghetti squash.
Yeah.
We have 2 people who are connected via phone line.
Oh.
So I would just invite maybe them to just say hello and introduce themselves, and someone is trying to say something to us. Just speak louder, please.
Oh, my name is John Farron. I'm in Colorado.
Hi.
And I just realized that the time had gone by. So I grabbed my phone, my number, and to call in.
Well, luckily, Oksana is recording this for us, so we'll have a recording. You'll like this program. This is very cool. So just to go back to iAwake for a second, is that Elizabeth and James have been interviewed by the iAwake people in a 30, 40, 50-minute program that's going to air in February as part of a Spiritual Technologies 2.0 series of programs. And then they interviewed me for a similar amount of time where I demonstrated the mind mirror. They have a mailing list of 100,000 people. So it's gonna bring some serious attention to our work, to our practitioners, to mind mirror sales, to everything that we are trying to bring to the world. And that was a really cool thing I wanted to mention to you. That I'll send you the links. And also, I should mention that as part of this iAwake program, that, you know, these programs, they say, well, can you have a free product to give away? Well, so I went to the website and put a new page and made a new page. The left-hand links, institutefortheawakenedmind.com has left-hand links, and one of them is The Awakened Mind, and a subpage is How to Meditate. And so I uploaded 2 free guided meditations that you can welcome to send your clients to. The first one is What Instrument Am I? It's a 10-minute long basically alpha sensualization. And then the second one is called The Heart of Meditation. It's about how to do a silent meditation. So iAwake is already triggering us to do cool things. I don't really feel like, I feel so good right now talking about all this scammer. I don't really want to talk about the Awakened Mind as an NGO or research projects. I will say that I did buy another mind mirror, another DSU, and have it for rent. I'm going to loan it to somebody momentarily, but then that's for rent, and we could figure out. I don't know anything about insurance for practitioners' equipment. Oh, that's one of those draggy projects you just hate to really have to start calling brokers. Ugh. So if anybody finds out something about that, please let me know. And next time we have a practitioner conference, then we can talk about it then. Which reminds me, and maybe Oksana, I'm scooping her, but we have a second practitioner webinar set up for for February the 27th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So what we're going to do is provide you with links to this recording. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to turn this over to Oksana and shut up. Maybe Oksana wants to introduce other people who are here and just close us out and take questions, whatever you want to do, Oksana.
Okay, I see we had some other points on the agenda that I would like to talk a little bit about, which is about research projects.
It's about what?
Research projects.
Uh-huh.
So the thing is, a friend of mine is doing her PhD in anthropology. And her scientific supervisor is a very famous woman who devoted most of her life studying anthropology of consciousness and studying shamans in Russia and former USSR. And so by chance, I was introduced to that woman from the Russian Academy of Sciences, and she shared with me the research that they did, and there was a neurophysiologist there who placed like 24 electrodes on shamans in like Mongolia, Buryatia, and different like these high energy places in the former USSR, and they did psychology tests with these shamans and interviewed them. So I thought it might be interesting for us maybe to have a little look at what, you know, other people have done. But there is one little thing there that I have problems with. So if you're saying that there are, you said are there any neurophysiologists among us who know how to read or interpret the kind of the special terminology of regular EEG? Because I mean, they do have general conclusions that I will be happy to share next time. But I also will need someone maybe to give me a helping hand to understand like special parameters from regular EEG, so that I can kind of reinterpret it from my neuro point of view from what we already know. And I was offered as well to conduct any research I would like to do in my area. And I mean, by shamans, she means neo-shamans, which means a person with extrasensoric ability, who could be a healer, who could be clairvoyant reader, or just, I mean, extrasensoric person doing just living in abnormal alternate states of consciousness. So what do you think? Are you interested?
Oksana?
Yes.
If you're interested in following up on that, I can talk with you. Jay Gunkelman is a QEEG specialist who is so good at reading raw EEGs, very rare individual. And he's probably, I don't know, seen close to 1 million EEGs. He also has a history of studying consciousness, and he knew Anna Wise as well. He's a very, very friendly guy. He's out in California, and he supervises some of the work I do. So I would be happy to see if we could find some way to connect up with him.
It would be so great, because I mean, I just need helping hand to understand how can I link, you know, what they've done to my neuro, so I can use it as a starting point for doing my research. Because I thought that would be exciting, and the place where I live, it's quite special. Judith knows it is high energy place, sacred Aboriginal place, and I mean, they've done all kind of, you know, anthropological studies around this, including the study of different ley lines and earth, and how it affects the consciousness of people living there. So it's very exciting. I have a bunch of papers that I need to read and reports that I need to understand. I mean, there's certain terminology. I don't have to read actual reports. I see the summary and conclusions, but there are certain terms that I don't understand.
Are these papers in Russian?
Yes, unfortunately, but there are some English papers, and I'll ask her if I could share that with you.
Well, you could translate them, right?
Yeah, I could translate. I mean, I will do my best just to get most interesting bits, because I think it would be interesting, you know. And I mean, from what I heard already from her, it was quite exciting to hear what they found doing, like, because it was a complex study involving specialists from different fields. I mean, psychotherapy is first to make sure that the person is a good subject, She's not just crazy one. And yes, then they did psychological studies, they did interview, and they did this neurophysiology in normal state, and during their kind of healing processes or whatever they were specializing in, these particular shamans. So they're neo-shamans, so it's applicable to my area, and I guess it might be applicable to most of you working in.
Hook them up, Oksana. Hook them up on the mind mirror. You know, that makes me think about Isabel Cade. When I went and saw her, she was telling me that Max did a lot of measurements on people who would walk in crop circles, and you know, England is rife with them. And she said that, but those studies were all inconclusive because there was no way to tell whether the effect on the brainwaves was because of the crop circle, the energetics of the crop circle, or whether it was the person's mental emotional response. Maybe, you know, they went, oh, I'm doing something marvelous, and it wasn't the energy, or maybe it was the energy, and that's why they went, oh, I'm doing, you know. So it's kind of hard to tell. It's a chicken and egg thing. But that reminds me of something else cool that I want to tell you, and especially David Fairweather's going to love this. Peter Staples, who was partner with Isabel Cade, just sent me an email and said that that he didn't know why he didn't think of it before, but that many years ago, Isabel and Max went with psychic Bruce McManaway to the ancient Scottish Isle of Iona, and there Max recorded several of his meditations, for which Peter still has the cassettes and is sending them to me so that I'm going to turn them into a CD and get them up on the website. And David, one of those meditations is the moon.
Nice. Now I can see how it's supposed to be done. Great.
David did this fantastic rendition of Max Cade's meditation, The Moon, and we hope that it's going to be soon uploaded to Andrea's Mindsurfer Media website. But that's going to be really cool. This will be the only thing that we have of Max's voice, and it's Max leading several of his own meditations.
Wow.
Something fun to look forward to. Yeah, so research. I guess I can also say that Richard Schuster, a psychiatrist in Hawaii, is conducting some studies on lucid dreaming and how during sort of deep meditative states, almost hypnotic states, people make changes in what those brainwaves look like. And this will be a scientific study. So we are going to have, he's only got 3 subjects. He wrote me tonight and said the trick is, there is a trick to it, that he has to, that the people have to, they have to be stuck in it, they have to be currently involved in a creative project but find themselves stuck in some way and not in the creative flow. So it's about finding the right people at the right time in the process. But you know, we really welcome these research projects. Honestly, that's what gives us Mind Mirror credibility, and it's what gives us more understanding of consciousness itself. So if you think of a research project and we can support you or network together to carry it out, no reason we shouldn't have work on the same project in different parts of the world, which would definitely give it some credibility. That's all I know.
This is a great idea, thank you, because she also gave me some contacts which are really important. So the people around the world, including very famous people in space, so I'll name them next time, just not to take time now. And I just have to make up the idea, you know, of what I should focus on, how I will structure this, and kind of come up with my proposal. And I'm free to, you know, contact all her important people around the globe who devoted, you know, their lifetime studying similar things in Australia, in the United States, in Russia as well. So
Oksana, do you know how to start a Yahoo group, Oksana?
No, but I can do it. I mean, I can check and organize it. That's not a problem. I'm used to do all these things from
Andrea. I know. Andrea started one, but it's in German, and that I can't understand what it says. But if we could get one started in English, then this would be the perfect kind of thing for getting feedback from mind mirror practitioners and self-trainers, ideas for that research project, wouldn't it?
Okay, I'll check it and I'll start it. That's okay, because I thought Andrea was enthusiastic about starting Yahoo instead of Facebook. So anyway.
Yeah. Yahoo apparently is better because it gets people in an email loop without having to like log in to Facebook, and a lot of people don't like Facebook for that reason. So
Google Groups is good too.
What is Google Groups?
Google's good. Yeah, because so many people have Gmail.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
either one. Take a vote.
Okay, well, we can do that, because I mean, to upload our video recordings, I had to create a page on a special kind of YouTube page for the Institute of Awakened Mind, where I decided that I'll put all next videos there. And it is linked to Google now, so to do that I have to have a Google account for IAM as well, and it means I thought we can start a group from there. That's okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll search, I'll do some research and come up with the best proposal for all this. Judith, I think what we can also do now, we can encourage people maybe to think about the next, our next meeting. Because, I think that there was a request to talk more about troubleshooting and challenging cases, and it can be anything. It can be anything, like starting from problems with the software, most typical ones, and how you suggest to solve that, and problems maybe with the customers. So if you face challenges working with others, you could share what challenges you had and how you solved them. Plus, there was a request also to talk about unusual cases, which means just some abnormal or strange patterns, behaviors. Once again, I can say about basically a person who instantaneously went into evolved mind pattern and never left it. He was just there all the time during brain profile, and that's when in the end I was puzzled. What am I supposed to do next? He is there already.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what we could do is just have people present their own or other people's sessions and, you know, analyze them together. That would be way more interesting than sitting here listening to me talk for 2 hours. So, yeah, why not do that? But we need some feedback, because before, how we left the last one was that people would come up with ideas about what they wanted to do in the next seminar, and nobody ever wrote down any ideas. So I ended up making a list, and that list tends to be lean heavily toward technical stuff, whereas I really like talking tonight about this stuff better. So I don't know if we can hear from some of you and find out what it is that you want to do in these things, then I think we could better respond in this way to your interests. Does that sound like an idea?
Well, Judith, this is Helen, and for me, if you're looking to get me up to speed so that when you start to generate all this extra stuff with this group you were working with, then working on the technical level is important to me.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And by the way, give me the link for the self-trainers, and that'll give me more exposure so that, you know, by repetition, this is how one learns.
Right, right. It's
so,
true.
Get me repetized.
All right. Oksana, I cannot for the life of me find that email where I gave you all those, the list of suggestions for the subjects. We ended up, as a result of the last self-training webinar, busting these into 3 webinars a month. One for self-trainers who are new users, one for self-trainers who are advanced users, and these are all about self-training and also the technology and stuff. And then the third one, once a month for, hey, I might have just found it. Once a month for, thank you. Oh, well, you know what? Actually, so look, let me just tell you, new users, the first one, Introduction to the Mind Mirror. Why am I doing it this way? When we have this lovely platform, you can just look, share screen. There we go, share screen. Okay, so we've got new users, Introduction to the Mind Mirror, the menu, software configuration, electrode placement, self-training program. You guys are all past that. Conducting a session, though, that could be useful. Instrument windows, user controls, recording, saving, and reviewing. This one I thought would be good. Awaken Mind Theory, 3 brainwave patterns and how to enhance them. The GSR and BVP meters, understanding, reviewing, comparing the data, using the mind mirror summary and segmented summary that we just kind of went through, but this would be more of a slower and left click here. Everybody could do it on their own computers at the same time if they wanted. Hemispheric symmetry, that's a subject that very often is not addressed, but there are a lot of important reasons for it, and there are ways to attain it. We can give you some really cool techniques for that, and this is where other mind mirror practitioners and self-trainers can weigh in, because there are lots of techniques and I certainly don't know them all. And then tracking your progress, importing, exporting files, and then equipment care, maintenance, or replenishment. And equipment care is important. I got to tell you, I'm a Virgo and a Capricorn, but somebody just sent me back 2 different sensor sets, and my God, they were covered in paste, and the paste had eroded the sensor heads, and well, no wonder they didn't get any data. So for new users, that's an important thing, and maybe for sloppy people, that's an important thing, no matter who you are. Now, this is why I went to this, because the way we looked at this before would be advanced self-trainers and or practitioners, data analysis, the mind mirror summary as it relates to the GSR and the BVP data, importing music and AVI files for audio-video feedback. Something I don't know enough about, as was pathetically illustrated on the self-training webinar we're going to send you the link to, is neurofeedback options, a brand new thing that Steve Clark's got in there. Very complicated. Well, it's not complicated at all, but I don't know how to use it, so I'm going to learn.
That makes it complicated.
Right. I'm going to learn, and then I'll share it with you guys. And then brainwave theory, more on that, sharpening your pattern, expanding your mind. So these are topics for 2. We could, since we have a 3rd meeting, one set up just for practitioners, that's what we want suggestions on. What do you want to talk about? Because you can attend the new users and the advanced self-trainers to get the technical aspects. What are practitioners? Do we want to talk about, like we did tonight, brainwave patterns, strange cases like Oksana just mentioned? Why did this person flare into this pattern? Of course, you'd have to have drawings and timing to be able to look at that. Maybe practitioners, maybe, is it possible that maybe this 3rd one for practitioners wouldn't just be about the technical aspects and the software and stuff? Maybe could it be about the practicing, the expansion of consciousness, the kind of same subject we talked about tonight?
That's fun.
What do you think?
Because I thought, I mean, we, as practitioners, it means we work with other people. And it means we may have slightly different focus, you know, if I had to face like problems, how to promote myself, okay, then how to meet unrealistic expectations. Then I have to troubleshoot, of course, because if certain things doesn't work, I have to.
Well, it could be both. It could be both, couldn't it?
Yeah, it can be both. And I mean,
ways to advance their consciousness and ways to advance our own at the same time.
Yeah, and doing research on like all unusual states and cases for healers and shamans and whoever, you know, and all research kind of around it that can help us to amplify our experience. I think that's very interesting as well, to understand deeper and see what other people, how other research correlates with what we do with Mind Mirror.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm game. But what we need is people to have suggestions so we can decide what we're going to do before the next one comes up on February 27th. We will send you out a list of these, if we haven't already, at this time, and I'm starting to get confused. Did we send out a list? I don't think we did. Topics, like the ones you just saw. So when we get this program uploaded as a recording, we'll also send out a list of the topics that are defined for the new users and the advanced self-trainers / practitioners. And if you guys will send in topics that you want to talk about for the practitioner webinar, then we'll know what we're going to do next time.
I just want to say that it's kind of, we're just beginning this thing, so it's a kind of co-creative process, so everyone is welcome to contribute, and we are kind of playing with the topics and groups and trying to make it all work. You know, make sure I'm starting using Zoom, you know, more professionally to understand how to do certain things there. So altogether, I'm just very open to all suggestions, and with this, we all know a way to make things work better for everyone.
Anything you want, Oksana, we're going to give it to you. You're making this possible. We're giving you the wave right now. Without you, Oksana, this wouldn't be possible, and you're working so hard. I mean, just creating the landing page, it was beyond my capability. And yeah, tell us what you want. We'll do it. Yeah. But suggestions we need from you guys.
Okay, so I would suggest if anyone has questions or would like to say something straight away now, we can do it now. Or we can do it by email later whenever you're ready. Whenever you have some ideas, you're very welcome to write to me and Judith. We have our email addresses, so don't hesitate. And yes, I have in plans to create another landing page for all 3 events for next month. And I suggested to this to just keep groups separate and let it really open. These are just names, really. If you're interested in the subject, you're welcome to join. And if you can't join for, you know, the timing reason or whatever, you will always be able to receive a recording. So I'll just say, okay, we'll have make monthly pass, so it makes really affordable and easy for everyone to join, and helps me to keep on going and uploading and collecting information and keep all of us organized. Okay, anyone has to say anything? Or we can round up and finish there. Okay, so thank you very much then, everyone. And I will,
thank you.
Yes, as we promised, I will send you the link to its recording because you were present. Video and audio, but video, of course, is more preferable. You have to see the brainwaves, you have to see the screen to understand what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And yes, with all additional information, we'll just keep you informed, including creating a new group. I don't Google or Yahoo. Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay. And see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.